My name is Mari Moss, and I am a over 13-year member of Abyssinian Baptist Church, or as they call it, the Abyssinian Baptist Church, here in Harlem, New York. When I got involved in NAACP, I was maybe like 8 years old, 9 years old, because a lot of us would go over to my aunt's house, my aunt Laura McIntyre, who is the mother of Macy Gray. And we would all go over to her house and, play and, like convene with each other. And my aunt said, all of you who are here coming to my house every day are going to start a club. I don't care what you call it. You can call it whatever you want, but it's going to be the NAACP. And so we started having these NAACP meetings, learning Robert's rules. And by the time I was 16, we had officially started our own chapter of the NAACP. Well, we had to go all around the state in order to get elected, because the NAACP has real elections even for their youth chapters. And around that time was the 25th anniversary for the March on Washington from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so we were elected. I was elected vice president for the state for the youth chapter. And then we all went and marched on Washington 25 years later from the date that it had originally started. And it was an amazing feeling, because as we were marching together as young leaders of our community and getting young people to get involved in the political process and become civically engaged and to understand the importance of voting, we were like, these were actually where our ancestors marched on these same steps. Like, these are the same, like the feeling that we all had from participating. This was the day that Martin Luther King gave the I Have a Dream speech. And it just made us feel like we were doing something not only meaningful in our own lives, but impactful for the future generations and the generation that we were trying to inspire. So it just was an inspirational time. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming march, where we're going to be celebrating another milestone and just realizing that we must continue to uphold the legacy of Dr. King, not just for what he stood for, but for the things that we still are fighting for. I always think about Dr. King, what he would think about today, like what's going on in the world today, what's going on in the generations today, because you have to, just remembering his whole movement, they were all in their 20s, like when they started these marches. They were all young leaders themselves trying to inspire the generations to do positive things. And if it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't be able to sit at lunch counters today. We wouldn't have the businesses that we own today. We would not have the freedoms that we have today, sitting anywhere we want, on the bus, on the train. When you think about how far we have come because of Dr. King's legacy, we owe him a lot. So when I was chair of the school leadership team at PS 175, right around the corner from here, when my daughter started school, we started having Martin Luther King Day events there, and Reverend Butts was very supportive of that. We honored Thurgood Marshall Academy, which was one of Reverend Butts' legacy pieces, and we did a lot of tremendous work in the community just from the school standpoint. And when we were organizing those, my daughter would do these collages. She was like 4 or 5 at the time, doing little collages of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So it's really important that we continue to uphold the legacy, that we don't forget where we came from or how much we need to continue the fight and the inspiration, and how much we need to continue the legacy. That's the most important thing, not only for our church, but for Dr. King and for all the generations to come.